All right, I've started recording. We can no longer have this conversation.
Aww. But basically.
We're on part F in the notes, and we're on page 292. What are pests?
Demon.
Oh my god.
Like a roach.
Things that you don't want. Good. Pesticides. What are pesticides? Good. Sarah, start reading on 292 on the left side, about halfway down where it says pesticides.
Because of the increased pest population, the monocropping encourages, as well as for other reasons, the use of pesticides has become routine and widespread in modern industrial agriculture.
All right, hold on. What is a monoculture? Or what is monocropping? Excuse me.
One crop.
Okay, so where you only grow one crop, like 1,000 acres of corn, if you have a pest that arises, and you plant that crop year after year after year on a very large scale, what's going to happen? What are your pests going to do?
Bother that crop.
And are they going to grow and get bigger or what?
They'll get smaller. Well, no, the pests will get bigger.
If there's a lot of food, you've got like 1,000 acres of corn and something eats corn or soybeans, it's going to come out there and it's going to eat and it's going to multiply and it's going to eat a lot of it. And then you plant them again the next year, it's going to come out there and eat more because like, oh, here's the food buffet again. So there's got to be an answer to this. Keep going.
Pesticides are substances, either natural or synthetic.
Hold on.
that kill-
Synthetic meaning
Fake.
not fake.
not
Fake's not a good
organic.
description.
Fake.
Man-made, good. So synthetic, there's man-made pesticides, there are natural pesticides. Chrysanthemum flowers are used as a natural pesticide. You can use beautyberry leaves, which we have a lot of beautyberries around here. You can use their leaves, crush them up, and put them on as a natural mosquito repellent. That's been actually proven by science to work, not some old wives' tale. So there are different types of natural pesticides, but there are also a lot of synthetic ones. Keep going.
That kill or control organisms that people consider pests.
All right. In the United States, every year, 500 million pounds of pesticides are applied to food crops, cotton, and fruit trees. The United States accounts for about 1/3 of the world's pesticide usage. So every year in the U.S., we are putting, how many tons is that? It's a lot. 500 million pounds. My brain can't work. It's Monday. It's okay. It's a lot of pesticides. And a lot of those pesticides don't stay on the crops and the fields. It goes where?
Where there's more food.
Pesticides go where there's more food?
Air.
Pesticides. Some of them get in the air and get blown around. A lot of them, when it rains, they run off into the streams and creeks and rivers and surrounding areas. Good. One thing that you need to add in here as we're talking about pesticides and think about is non-target organisms. Write it down. What is a non-target organism, Simona? I bought this shirt at the thrift store. What do y'all think? Y'all like the color?
Yeah, it looks like Easter.
I like the checkered pattern. I do most of my shopping at the thrift store, in case y'all couldn't tell. That's why I look beautiful. And I'm rich. Okay, go ahead. Simona, what is a non-target organism?
Is it
Jacayla, anybody want to guess? Non-target organism. This isn't nuclear physics. Go, Patino.
a generic organism that isn't targeted by pesticides specifically? It's just kind of like they are along with other species, and it's very general, and then like the pesticides just kind of work for that group.
It's an organism that you kill that you don't mean to kill.
Yeah.
When you're putting out pesticides, generally you're targeting some type of pest. If that pesticide gets blown over, well, let's say, Patino, you're growing a 1,000-acre cornfield out there, and you got Roundup ready corn. You planted your corn, weeds and stuff start coming up. So you go out, you spray your Roundup everywhere, you kill all the weeds. Well, maybe it's a little windy that day, and that Roundup gets blown into the surrounding forest and kills some of the plants there. Or maybe it comes a big rain right afterward, and part of that Roundup gets washed into a local stream and kills all the plants in that stream, and then all the animals in there don't have any food to eat and they start to die. So non-target means you're killing something that you didn't mean to kill, okay? So that's a big issue. Now, there's different types of pesticides. Pest is the thing you don't want. Pesticide is the thing you use to kill it. Herbicide kills
Plants.
plants. Good. On where is 294. On 294, on the left side, bottom left, it talks about genetically engineering corn and a number of different crops at this point. The book's about 10 years old. Genetically engineered corn, soybeans, wheat, cotton, who knows what else. Corn and soybeans are a big one because probably 70, 80, 90% of those that are grown in the U.S. are Roundup ready, meaning you have one type of plant and it's grown and that's what everybody's using. And they're using it because it's easy, because you can go plant it and then you can spray a bunch of Roundup and kill everything else and not kill that plant. So it's easy to grow it. Now, if you skip down in pesticides here, why are people spraying pesticides? To
Get rid of unwanted things.
increase crop yields and increase profits. Okay, so they're getting rid of pests, and it helps to increase the amount of crops that they have, the less pests you have, and it also helps to increase the more crops, the more profits you have. All right, herbicides kill plants. Roundup, it's probably the number one used around the world. There's a bunch of others. Probably one I would suggest you might actually see on the AP exam. Now, another thing on pesticides before we go any farther. There's two different types of pesticides. Like, you could break it up into two different categories. Persistent and non-persistent. Write those down. Persistent, non-persistent. All right, Sarah, what is a persistent pesticide? No pressure. I think these are words y'all should know the meaning to
Well, it means
and apply them to pesticides.
it'll continue to, it'll continue to kill all those plants for a while.
Okay, it stays around. Good. Persistent pesticide stays in the environment for a long period of time. Non-persistent does what? Doesn't. So it breaks down. It's a chemical compound that breaks down much more quickly. Roundup is a non-persistent chemical or pesticide. A lot of people will go out like this time of year or a couple months ago, if they're planting a green field for their deer or whatever, they'll go spray the entire field they're going to plant with Roundup. In 2 weeks, they can come back. It's killed every plant that's out there. They can come back and they can drill or disc it up or whatever they want to do, and they can go back and plant in that field. And in doing so, you don't have to deal with any weeds or any of that other stuff. You can just plant your crop. So it breaks down relatively quickly. Now, there's some evidence to show that some of that Roundup is left over in, I know like Wheaties, they brought up, or not Wheaties, Cheerios, they talked about residual glyphosate, which is the basically the generic form of Roundup, being found in there. So if Roundup, maybe some of it does stay around. Maybe it's just a very small amount. But if it does, what is the impact on us, and how should we deal with that? I mean, is it worth dealing with a little bit of that pesticide in our food if we're producing lots of food? Now, I'm not going to say on here, don't ever use pesticide, because I'm not sure that we could produce enough food for 8 billion people without using some type of pesticides. Or some pesticides, but I would say there's a better way of doing things, and we can do better and be environmentally more conscious and try to do something that's a little more sustainable going forward. Kind of like what we're seeing in the Biggest Little Farm video. If you're going to grow better food and you're going to grow healthier food, it requires more time and it requires more money. So those are things that we have to consider, okay? All right, herbicides kill plants. Fungicides, what do they kill?
Fungus.
You're a genius. There's like a corn rust or a wheat rust, or maybe there's a rust on both of them. When you hear that term, that's actually talking about a fungi that grows on there. And so anytime that you have more water, more rainfall, more moisture than you normally have, a lot of times you'll have fungus start to grow on crops and cause issues. People get fungi, like you athletes out there might get what?
Athlete's foot.
Yeah, you should wash those toes. Jock itch, you might get like sunspots that are caused by fungi. So there are a number of different fungal disorders that could affect and be parasitic on individuals or plants or anything else. So anytime you use something, like if you use something to get rid of the fungus on your foot, you're using a fungicide, right? Sarah?
What?
All right, rodenticides, what do they kill?
What'd you say?
Jacayla, what do they kill?
I didn't get a word you said.
Rodenticide.
Rodents.
You're a genius. So I have found a video in Australia where they have like thousands and thousands of mice on these farms where they're growing wheat, and it is like crazy. They open a door, about 1,000 mice fall out. I don't know, I mean, how they're making babies and making that many, getting that big, but it is magical. I don't know if we'll have time to get to it today, but probably Thursday I'll show you all some videos that we maybe haven't seen before. There's actually 4 or 5 short videos that I want to show you, but I'm trying to get through with the Biggest Little Farm first. Rodenticides. Let's say you go out and you put out some rat poison, kills a rat or makes it all sick. It's struggling, it's barely getting around. Your cat goes out and eats it, Antonise. What do you think's gonna happen to your cat?
Don't die.
It's gonna die. There's arsenic in rat poison. There's many a wife that's poisoned her husband using arsenic from rat poison. Y'all ever watch that show Forensic Files?
I've seen
You know what I'm talking about? They talk about the forensics behind they figure out how like people kill people. Yeah, don't get any ideas, ladies. But arsenic is deadly. I'm convinced we had a cat about 6 months ago die. It came up on our porch late one night and was just kind of seized up and could barely move, and you could tell it was just in really bad shape. It hadn't been bitten, it hadn't been in a fight, it hadn't been run over, and I'm just almost certain that it probably ate some poison. Very well could have been a rat or a mouse or something that had consumed some rat poison that somebody left out, and it didn't make it through the night. So anyway, watch out and be careful about those. You know, I mean, you could use like sticky traps would be another method, although I think that's kind of, some people would argue that's inhumane, because if a mouse is on a sticky trap and just sits there and starves to death, that's not really if I was a mouse, I'd rather get my neck snapped in a, what do you call the thing?
Trap.
Yeah, a rat trap. What do y'all think? Sticky trap, starve to death, or rat trap?
Rat trap.
Whenever my grandparents used to put out that sticky trap, they used to like tear themselves apart trying to get out of it.
Tear themselves apart? Tell us more. They like eat their legs off?
No, they would just like try so hard to get out, like they'd like start coming apart. Like they're so fragile, like they'll pull themselves.
I like rat traps a lot better.
I've not seen them pull themselves apart, but I will have to look into that. All right, insecticides. What do insecticides kill, Isabella? You're a genius. It is conclusive. All right, so for instance, some of y'all may use an insecticide, or your parents may use one around their house. Like if you go around, like they sell that home defense to kill all the like spiders and cockroaches and whatever other bugs you got running around your house. Like you spray it around the corners and the cracks and all that stuff, or maybe you want ants to get in the house. Maybe you spray an insecticide, something like that. Insecticides are often sprayed on fields to kill different types of worms and caterpillars and different things that are harmful to crops. So that's an issue. Let's see here. Turn to page 293. Let's talk about the pesticide treadmill, or this goes along with pesticide resistance. You may want to put pesticide treadmill beside that. And artificial selection, basically where humans are causing pests to become more resistant to our pesticide treatments, okay? Basically what it says here is that most times pesticides aren't very effective long-term because pests will eventually develop a resistance. Read figure 11.9 for us, Antonice.
Over time, pest populations evolve resistance to pesticides and cause farmers to use higher doses or to develop new pesticides.
Okay, so in the top picture there, crop infested with pests. So you got some kind of pest problem. Looks like some tomatoes. Develop a new pesticide. Apply the pesticide. Most pests die, but some survive. Some resistant individuals survive. Maybe you kill, Sarah, maybe you kill 95% of those pests that are eating your crops. How many survive?
5%.
5. Maybe some of those just didn't get enough pesticide on them. Some of them, though, maybe are resistant to that pesticide. Maybe it made them sick, not feel good, but they didn't die. So they're going to grow up, have babies. The next year when they apply that pesticide again, what's going to happen?
They're not going to kill as many.
Yeah, so most of the offspring may be resistant. So maybe next year it only kills 70%. Maybe the next year it's only 50%. Maybe you have to increase your dosage. Or maybe it gets to a certain point where you're not killing enough and you just have to say, I'm going to have to find another pesticide. And maybe it's something that's even more harmful. So that is the pesticide treadmill, where you're just kind of spinning your wheels and not really gaining traction on getting rid of those pests, which we see a lot with in large monocultures. 479. Let's turn that real quick. Okay, I'm not ready for that yet. Hold on. I forgot to tell the other class. Let's skip to 477. There we go. We are ready for this. Okay. This is an incident that occurred in 1984, and it is important. A lot of times on the AP exam, they'll have like specific major environmental disasters that occurred, and you have to kind of identify what's going on there. This incident in Bhopal, Chernobyl, the nuclear meltdown, Fukushima might be on there, the very large BP oil spill that happened a few years ago. So, read figure 1719 for us. Simona, go.
1719.
Yes.
How do you pronounce
Bhopal.
the chemical disaster in Bhopal, India? In 1984, a massive release of meth.
Okay, we're going to call that MIC gas because that's usually what it is in short.
MIC gas killed and injured thousands of people. Retrospective studies that have followed the survivors of the accident have identified a large number of longer-term health effects from the accident.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a breakdown of the Bhopal incident. Since I used to show a documentary, and there's actually a movie, like a motion picture movie out about this now. You could look it up. It's something Bhopal. But basically, why would a U.S. company produce pesticides overseas?
So we don't have to deal with the effects that cause from the production.
Okay, so we don't have to, yeah.
No competition.
Well, it's cheaper. You got cheaper labor. You know, telling who you got working there. You're not having to pay them as much. Environmental laws probably are not as strict, so it's not as costly. You don't have to deal with the environmental consequences if you're making somebody else do it halfway across the world. And so in this plant in Bhopal, all of the safety practices that should have been in place to prevent a large explosion and consequential release of this MIC gas, they kind of failed. And basically what happened was they weren't keeping up all their safety procedures and code like they were supposed to. So this thing that should have stopped it wasn't in place. And this thing that should have stopped it after that wasn't working properly. And this thing, somebody wasn't monitoring properly. So it was just like this laundry list of things, screw-ups that took place that led to basically one night the gas or the pesticide mixed with some water and it formed this gas and then it blew out the top of the plant. And so this has happened in the middle of the night. In the middle of the night, the air is what? Cold. Cold air does what? Sinks. So all this gas in the cold air in the night sank and moved through this town in India. I mean, it's like 1 million people probably live there. It's a very large town. And in India, I don't imagine a lot of people have air conditioning or airtight homes, especially in the poorer parts, as in most of the world. Probably have lots of open windows, or I don't even know about your door, but at least open windows, ways you can get ventilation. and air comes in and you're laying there in bed and you start to breathe in this MIC gas, and what happens? You start to cough and you start to choke, and it gets in your respiratory system, and you start hacking, and then you run outside and you're wondering what's going on, and as you run outside and you start running around, what happens? You're breathing in more and more and more, and then you die, or maybe make your way to the hospital, depending on how much you breathed in. You can see a lot of people went blind. 15 to 20,000 people died is the estimate. They had a bunch of mass graves because they had so many people die at once. They were trying to keep them from bodies building up in the street. I don't know. I mean, they kind of lost count, basically. And then respiratory issues, like long-term respiratory issues, were a problem. Stillbirths, I'm sure birth defects probably were an issue there as well. So all of this a result of basically us producing a cheap good overseas. Now, I don't have any problem with people producing stuff anywhere, to be honest with you, as long as it's fair in its production, meaning like you're not using child labor, you're not putting people in unsafe conditions. And so I think that's something you really got to think about as you're, when you purchase things, when you look at companies, or maybe even go to work for a company one day, what are their practices and what are they doing? Okay. And then the last thing we're going to talk about today, let's see. We're not to the last thing. Turn back to 299. Ahead of myself. IPM stands for Integrated Pest Management. All right. Integrated Pest Management. The whole goal of Integrated Pest Management is to reduce the amount of pesticide you use. Like I said, I'm not all for just not using any pesticide anymore, but whenever we can reduce chemicals that can be harmful to the environment and potentially bad for us, the better off we'll be. So let me read this first paragraph on 299. Integrated Pest Management uses a variety of techniques designed to minimize pesticide inputs. These techniques include crop rotation and intercropping. That means you got a crop and you got another crop in between it, so you're kind of mixing up what you have. What's the other one? Crop rotation, meaning you don't plant the same crop every year in the same field, because you're going to have pests that are going to come in there and eat that crop, and every year they're going to get more and more of them. The use of pest-resistant crop varieties. So meaning if you can create even genetically modified crop varieties where they taste bad, or they give something off that puts pests off, then all the better. And then creating habitats for predators of pests. So like ladybugs. A lot of people release ladybugs in their yard because they kill and eat aphids, which eat your plants. So all of that in an effort to reduce pesticide. Read figure 1116 for us, Isabella.
Beneficial insect habitat. Practitioners of integrated pest management often provide habitat for insects that prey on crop pests. The wasp is laying eggs in a caterpillar, which it has paralyzed.
Okay, so caterpillar eats the plant, eats the leaf, whatever this is. There's a lot of parasitic wasps, which basically means they will sting, paralyze the caterpillar. They lay its eggs on the caterpillar, so the caterpillar's still alive. The eggs hatch out in a week or so. They start to eat the caterpillar alive. You can call that parasitic if you want to. I don't know, call it eating, getting eaten alive, but anyway. So the more beneficial predators you can have, like spiders. If you got spiders out in your field, they're going to eat stuff that land on your plants, right? So the more of those you have, the better off you'll be. Let's see. Crops can be genetically engineered to resist pest and disease. Why would you do that? What would be the goal of that? Why would you genetically modify your crops to resist pest and disease? You're a genius. Decrease pesticide usage. But genetically modified crops can also decrease what? When you only have everybody's planting the same type of corn, or everybody's planting the same type of soybean, what are you reducing there? They talked about the Biggest Little Farm, something they're trying to achieve. What?
Like, is it the amount of people they might reach?
What'd you say, Andrea? Diversity. You're reducing the amount of diversity of your crops, which in the long run may be an issue. You're definitely reducing the amount of nutrients in what you produce when you just produce one crop. And that's really what we've gotten to as a point in the country. Now, a lot of people are kind of making a comeback for heirloom varieties, meaning like old varieties of tomatoes and corn and squash. basically the idea being the more varieties you have, the better off you are. You get more different stuff to eat. So hopefully we see more of a trend in that direction. We are going to talk about LD50 on tomorrow. Add that in above G. LD50. Let's watch some of this movie. All right. Where did we get to in The Biggest Little Farm? Hey, you people at home, I hope y'all finished up that web quest. There's my thumb up close. Can you see it?